And gentlemen, welcome to Absolute Beginner Lesson 7. So let's just get started. Before we begin, let's continue with the review. So remember when we went over the subject, we used the subject in the beginning or the end, or excuse me, not the end, but the middle of the sentence. And then we can also use the object particle if we want to, or we can use the subject particle if we want to too. And then we kind of remember, if you don't remember, perhaps in lesson 3 or 2, we can only use the subject and create a whole sentence. But the opposite is also true too. We can only use the object or only use the object particle, and that'll complete a full sentence. Or we don't even have to use a particle if we don't want to, as long as the context is already known, then we don't need to use a particle. But we can either use a particle to place extra emphasis, or when it's not so obvious that something is a subject, or when it's not so obvious that something is an object, then you do have to use a particle. And particles are used because they can either shorten your sentence to say so much without saying anything at all, or they can also be used, as I said, to create emphasis. Now remember, we have to put the prepositions in front of the word it belongs to. I think we all know that. And then we have to place the verbs at the end. And remember, if it's an action verb, then you'll place the action verb first, and then the aux verb. Excuse me, this is way too big. Okay, so aux, if there is an aux verb, then it should be like this: action verb, and then aux verb. We know that, so aux verb is always at the end. And then conjunctions should be next to the verb, right? Because a whole sentence always ends with a verb. A full sentence always ends with the verb. So you want to make sure that the conjunction is next to the verb if we do have a conjunction, whether it be a subordinating conjunction or not. Now place the pronoun in parentheses to claim the verb. We already know that. Just remember that the parentheses doesn't actually mean that it is in the sentence itself, but that is the feeling that you should be getting. And you can make a whole sentence with an object particle, with just an object particle, as long as you know the context. Vice versa with the subject particle. So I'm just going to review it for you real quick. So remember, in the English language, there are 3 essential parts for the parts of speech, which is subject, verb, object. Now in English, these cannot be realigned. These cannot move places. So this is just a very strict structure: subject, verb, object, subject, verb, object. But in Korean, it can be something like this. So subject, object, verb, or object, subject, verb. Object, subject, verb. So if you eliminate this, let's say if you eliminate this, we still know that the ending, or we still know that what we need is a subject. So we already know, it's already implied that it's either it, she, we, they, or those people, or I. And in this case, if we delete the object, then we already know that it's implied that the object is missing. So in this case, when we say the subject and the verb, the object should be him, her, me, us, and them, and so on. So for example, if you have subject and verb, in Korean, that's how you can speak. That is how you can speak. So if you have subject and verb and the pronoun is not discussed, we don't know what that is, then that's probably the object form of the pronoun, which is her, him, etc. So by not even mentioning the object, we can make a whole sentence. Vice versa, if we have an object, then obviously the subject is missing. Then in that case, it'll be she, him, not him, that's an object, he, I, we, or they, even though this wasn't here. Because just by having this object here, we already know that what's missing should be the subject form of a noun or a pronoun. We just don't know yet. But once the context is known, we definitely know. So by process of elimination, it can't be an object, it can't be a verb, so it must be subject. And that's pretty much what we're trying to do here. We're trying to do process of elimination. And the only thing that there can be if there's a subject and verb is the object. So let's just go over one example real quick, and then you will do the rest of them. So use the object with object particle only to form, object particle only to form a sentence. No subject, please. Well, what does this mean? If we have the context like this, John will visit his grandparents during the summer, and grandparents is 조부모님. I assume that you will have Korean for your keyboard, so make sure you have Korean installed on your keyboard. That is super important because I want us to speak Korean or at least type in Korean. A little bit, just a little bit, at least a little bit. So all I want you to do is rewrite this sentence without saying the subject. So what does that mean? I want you to rewrite the sentence without saying John. Well, how do you do that? Well, if I say this, 조부모님, grandparents, correct? Well, John will visit his grandparents. And let's see if I can kind of make... We already know the context, so we already know John will visit his grandparents during the summer. Well, how do I know? Because in Korean, the subject, verb, object isn't it. It's subject, object, verb, or object, subject, verb. So whether it be this or this, now it's kind of like this. Right? So how do we know which one is which? One of them has to be X, one of them has to be Y, or I'll just say SO, subject and object, but which one? We don't know yet. We don't know until we know the context, right? So let's go over, I will write this sentence for you and we'll see, I will yodify it for you and we'll see what I actually mean. So we take John, so visit Will is the ox, right? And then his grandparents during the summer or the summer during Will. So without saying John, I'll say his grandparents. I'll just say grand P. And then the summer during, and that's pretty much a time frame. That's not an object or a subject. The summer during, I'll do that. Visit Will. Okay, so just look at this sentence for now. If you can see it, you're missing either the subject or object, right? In this context, we already know that he's going to be visiting his grandparents. So we know that, his grandparents. So if we say 조부모님 여름에 during 만날 거예요 or 볼 거예요, then I would already know from the context that's given. But if I wanted to make it extra clear, and sometimes when you say 을을, that's the particle that we learned last time, 을, then this also emphasizes the object, emphasize. Remember, this means onto, to, for, or I said, or she said. We don't know yet. Or it could also be a caps lock feature if you attach it to a noun. Right? So not only if you attach the object particle onto grandparents, so let me just put it here. 조부모님을 만날 거예요. Now you get to do two things. You get to say the whole sentence without even mentioning the subject, because we already know this is the object. So when you say this, you don't even have to mention the subject, and you get to emphasize the object at the same time. So 조부모님을 만나요, his grandparents, and I will just color code it, and I'll just put it as a star to mark the object because that's an object marker. his grandparents'을. The summer during visit Will. That means I said his grandparents, he will visit during the summer. His grandparents, I said, his grandparents, the summer visit, during the summer, he will visit. And so I get to emphasize this and not say the subject at the same time, which means I get to say so much more with saying so little. And that's what we're trying to do right now. Now, if I did not know the context, so let's go over not knowing the context. So if I didn't know his grandparents, and then, summer during, I'll just say that, summer during, and visit will. Well, how do we know if it's not the grandparents who are doing the visiting, right? Because if I just say, this may be the subject, right? And in normal cases, we may think, if we don't have any particle here, no particle, then his grandparents may be the subject, and maybe his grandparents are visiting John. But we already knew the context, and we want to make it extra clear that it is his grandparents that is visiting, that John is visiting his grandparents. Then we will make it like this, and we definitely know that somebody is visiting the grandparents. Vice versa, if we said this, 이가, the subject particle, then we definitely know that his grandparents are visiting John, because we know the context, and that's what we're doing. And so when we come down, I'm just going to show you the answer for this. 조부모님을, this one. Now, when I give the particle over here, I'm definitely making sure that, hey, this is the object. I'm bringing attention to it. And this means grandparents. So his grandparents, I said his grandparents, the summer during visit he will. Did I need to put this here? If I knew the context, I kind of didn't need to know. All I needed to mention was the grandparents because they're already known as the object. But I wanted to make extra sure, and that's what happened. So just by saying this whole sentence means John or he will visit his grandparents during the summer, or I said, or he said, something like that. So I said his grandparents, or his grandparents. I said he will be visiting his grandparents. So it's almost like saying it twice, right? Which we learned last lesson. And we're going to go over the second one for the subject particle this time. The teacher said to the students to write a 탈락 paragraph. So this time, you can use the subject particle or the subject. Usually we'll use the subject particle. You can also use the object or object particle if you want to. So the teacher said to the students to write a paragraph. So we're going to start with the subject first. So the teacher, 선생님이, said to the students. So said, we go there. To write, okay, we go there. And then to the students. So basically, to the students and then write a paragraph. So this is the object, right? Because the teacher said to write a paragraph. So you don't need to add the object particle on here because, as I said, when you have something like this, subject, and yeah, I'll kind of mark it as, let's say there's one thing here and one thing here, and you are marking it as E, then you definitely know that's a subject. And then there's a verb here. What do you think this will be? This will probably be the object. So that's the process of elimination that we're doing right now. And so this is probably the object. So since we did that over here, boom, now we know that paragraph is the object. So do we need to put the object particle there? No, we don't. But if I want to stress that paragraph or caps lock it or say something, put the object particle onto the paragraph because somebody didn't hear me the first time, or I just want to scream at them, then maybe I will put the object particle there. But do I need to? No. So what is the answer for this one? It'll be the 선생님이, because the 선생님 or teacher is the subject. The students to a paragraph right here. Did I need to put it again? No, I didn't. But I just wanted to put it there just for you guys. To write, she said. And that will be how you do it. So now I want you to come back to this part and I want you to pause the video and try to do the remainder. So for this one, remember, rewrite the sentence only by going over the object, only by stating the object and object particle. So you get to not say the subject and emphasize the object at the same time to say a whole lot. And then I want you to go over this and do it on your own. If you cannot do it, make sure to download the PDF and then just do number 2 and then slip it in. Boom, look at it and then test yourself with number 3, look at it again and boom, go back out. So I will give you until the end of time to do this because you can pause the video. So pause the video real quick and let me know what you get. Okay, so here are the answers. So we have 밥을 because that is the object and 숙제를. So if you say 밥을 못 먹었어요, couldn't eat, then it means he or she couldn't eat it. Or he or she couldn't eat the food, not it, because it would be something else. 숙제를 months for working on, she has been, but still, she submitting before, because submitting is a noun, right? Submitting, because if you do something before something, submit is actually a noun form of the verb submit. And then the actual verb is check needs. And then submit, the before belongs to the submitting noun. Yes, so submitting before check needs. So 숙제를, so just by doing this, I eliminated she, I just put in parentheses. But since we know this is an object, now we know this is a she. So 숙제를 months for working, she has been, but still submitting before check needs, or she has been working on her homework for months, but she still needs to check it before submitting it. And this one's pretty easy. 회사를, 회사 was, the obvious object, and then we didn't need to, when we say it, of course, we don't actually say this, but I want you to get into the habit of knowing that there is a subject and changed. And then for the subject 1, we have 세라, 가, and 준이, home ed exercise, and 메리가, her presentation for hours for topic 을. Did we need to put the topic 을? No, but if we wanted to emphasize it, yes, we did. But, I just put it there just for you guys to learn. And then 애들이 zoo to field trip on, to go, excited they were. Yes. So remember the 애들이 is subject, then we're missing an object, obviously. So then field trip. Okay. Or perhaps field trip could be the object, right? But let's say going, because going is actually also could be a gerundial, to be going, right? So we could have actually also placed it over here too, if we wanted to put the object particle, because the act of going on a field trip is actually a noun, going on a field trip. This was the verb. It gets a little tricky, but you just have to keep practicing and practicing. So today we're going to be learning the concept of 이랑 and 하고, and then 이에요, which is the present form of the aux verbs. Present form, so it is, are, am, right? So this means all three. So you're only sticking with one. The only difference is when you are ending a noun off in a consonant, you will use the whole thing. Not just the red, but the whole thing. If you are ending the noun off in a vowel sound, then you are just using the red. Okay? You're just using the red. So, for example, if you have went over the Korean vocabulary by now, if I say something like this, 친구, right? 친구. Ooh, excuse me. That was bad. 친구. Now, 구 is u sound. So since that is u and that ends in a vowel sound, then I wouldn't say consonant, right? It would just be 에요. So it would be 에요. And that could either mean, based on context, remember it could be this, or this. So it could mean something like, she or he is my friend, or it could be it's my friend, it is my friend, Or if you also said it in a question, right? That means 친구예요. That means, is he your friend or are they your friend? Right? Because if I'm directly looking at you and I say 친구예요, are they your friend? Is that person your friend? That's what it means. Because if you have 친구, friend, and then aux verb, it could mean a whole host of things, right? And that's the beauty of Korean, where you just have to kind of, read the room. In Korean, we say 눈치, and 눈치가 빨라야 돼. 빨라 means to be quick, or 빨리, or 빨라. So your reading the room skills has to be quick. And you can kind of unlock a new part of your brain as you keep going over these. And they say the more languages you learn, the more conscious you'll be of everything else around you, because you can kind of tackle things from different directions and avenues, and you're not going to be just thinking about one set way. You're going to be thinking about many multiple ways to attack a problem. So that will be aux, and with is 이랑. So if we're using the vowel, then we will use the whole thing. Not the whole thing, just 랑. Now, if we're using the consonant, we will use 이랑. Now, perhaps I should have color-coded it better because this is a vowel and it's red. And so I'll just make it like this. And so that's that. So for example, if I say 사람, this means person. And this is an M sound, right? So that would mean it's 이랑, because it ends in a consonant. So we say the whole thing. Now, if it ends in a vowel, we only say this. So, for example, if you say something like, yes, I'll say 친구 again, or 엄마. So I'll say 엄마. And then this ends in a vowel sound. So we'll only need to use this. So the best way to understand is if you are not rolling your tongue when you say a vowel sound ending, then it's probably wrong. And when you are saying a consonant and you are not rolling your tongue, it's probably wrong. So let me go over what I mean. So for example, if I say something like this, I sometimes I put seaweed into my rice. So this is called kim, which is seaweed. Okay, so if I say kim, and let's just, for the heck of it, I'm just going to do a wrong version of it. So kim lang, right? Kim lang. Does that make sense, or does that sound right? No, because you cannot roll your L with that consonant if you just put lang, kim lang, kim rang, kim rang. You just cannot. It's not possible. But what if you do this? I, rang, kimirang. Now you can perfectly roll your L. So whenever you have a consonant ending, and you cannot roll your L with the irang, then you're doing it wrong. So that's a good way to remember. So let's say something, for example, this means with seaweed. So if I say something like this, 먹어요 means I eat. So if I say 김이랑 먹어요, I eat with seaweed. I can say 밥을 김이랑 먹어요. 밥 means, rice or food. So 밥을 김이랑 먹어요. That means I eat rice with seaweed, and so on. Now, I'll just provide you another example real quick. So if I go like this, 누나. Well, let's try it. 누나 ends in a vowel, so that means it's 누나랑, right? You can perfectly roll your L. What about this? 손님. That means customer. Can we do it this way? Can we do 손님랑? 손님랑? You can't roll your L. It's impossible. So you must put a vowel before you put in the 랑. And most of Korean is based on sound. If it sounds wrong, it's probably wrong. 손님이랑, so that means with the customer. Let me just say customer. Yep, and that's all it means, with the customer. So if you say something like 손님이랑 먹어요, 먹어 means eat, and 먹어요 could mean I'm eating or eat. So 손님이랑 먹어요 means are you eating with the customer? You should never probably do that, but that's what it means. Take a moment to write this down because I need more room to write. Thank you. Okay. So now let's go over this. If I say something like this, 하고, this is actually easier, but we'll see if it is easy. So this is easier when you write it because it doesn't rely on vowel or consonant. It is 하고 either way, whether it be consonant or vowel. But the only thing is, this can mean and, but it can also mean and I, and we, and you, and they, and so on. I'll tell you what I mean. Based on context, if I say something like this, 저 사람, or I'll say 저분, that individual, which is trying to be nice, 저분, which is 저 means that. It could also mean me. Excuse me, one second. That individual, 분, individual. And then I can say something like this, 저분하고 that individual. Now, if I am, now let's say I'm talking about doing something with that person, and if I say 저분하고, it means that individual and I. Okay? But let's say the context is talking about another person. Well, that means, and you're actually pointing at that person, right? You don't really know them, and you're talking about something that person did with other people. Now this changes to that person, that individual, and they. Well, how does it change like that? Because that's why you have to read the room, because Korean is not so exact. We always look at context. Almost everything is by context, and you have to read the room. That is a skill that you must have. But that you will get that over time as you keep speaking it, and you will kind of see that everything just falls into place, but you must practice. So always keep reading, and if you see K-dramas, see what words that they miss, or see what words that subtitles have that they don't say. And yes, so, and it could also mean if you and another person are talking, if two people are talking about having fun with those people that just left, then now it's we. So 저 사람들하고 놀았어요. 놀아 means played. If you say 저 사람들하고 놀았어요, it could also mean that those 저분, or I'll say this, 저분들, that's plural, those individuals, 하고 저 사람들하고 놀았어요. It means those individuals and we, those individuals, I'll just say S plural, those individuals and we played. Yeah, so 하고 could mean a whole host of things. And I, and we, and they, and she, and so on. Individuals. Yes. So the only thing with this is that there is no kind of camaraderie when you say 하고. I mean, it could be camaraderie, right? But when we usually use it for when we list things, or when we say and. But here's another rule when it comes to 하고. And I'm going to be deleting this, so make sure to write it if you'd like. So when you have multiple objects, or when you have multiple subjects or objects, which are nouns, and then you say something like this, mom 하고 dad. Now, since there is a dad here, this no longer means and I, and we, or they, or anything. It's just gone. It only means and. because we for sure know that dad is coming after the 하고. So that just means mom and dad. Not mom and dad and I. It's just mom and dad. If I just said this, then you're probably talking about yourself, right? So it means mom and I. Yes. So if you're going to write anything down, if you only have one noun attached to this, it probably means and I, and they, and you. More likely, and I. If you have more than one noun attached to this, which is the beginning, and then 하고, and then another one, then it's just and. That's it. Then it just works as and. All right. And now the fluid conjunction. Attaching conjunctions to verb. We're not going to do this yet. Don't worry. All together, we're not going to do this yet either. So no worries. I thought I would kind of get into it, but no. So tips, segment off sentences into mini phrases. And right now, the challenge is speed. You must think about doing it quickly. When you are learning Korean, you cannot be going like this. Oh, is that a consonant ending? Okay, a consonant ending. So is that probably something like ka or no, wait a minute. Is it e? No, it has to be consonant, boom, e. That's it. That's how quick you have to be. So if something is a vowel, then you say, oh, vowel, or sara, no, it has to be bam. That's it. So you must, the particle endings, ending, / preposition endings also, all the endings that are based on vowel or consonant, you must do it with speed. You have to. So right now we're going to do a little speed test real quick. And I'm going to do the first 5 for you for free. Remember, if it ends, you must be rolling your tongue at all times. So for example, this is 사람이랑, excuse me, I just said it for you. But 사람이랑, right? Because it ends in a consonant. 사람이랑. I can roll my L freely. If I just said L, A, and G, 랑, 사람랑, it doesn't work because I cannot roll my L. So 사람이랑. Okay? And this is 여자랑. This is 남자랑. 어린이랑. And then this is 어른이랑 because it ends in a consonant sound ending. So now we're going to be doing a little quiz, or we're going to be doing a little test. And I want you to set your brain. I want you to get ready for this. So I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to count to 3, or I'm going to count down from 3, and you have to choose the ending. And then I'm just going to say it with you. Ready? 가족. 3, 2, 1. 가족이랑. Okay? So I'm just going to, it's going to be a little too much for me to write down everything. So I'm going to put star. Star is, no, I won't be doing that. Let's just keep going. I'll just say it though. 친구. Okay, a star and a circle. So a star is 랑, and a circle is 이랑. There we go. 이랑. Okay. So 친구, 3, 2, 1, 랑. So star. 친구랑. 동요, 3, 2, 1, 동요랑. Star. 이웃, 3, 2. We usually say 옆집 사람들 or 옆집, but yeah, let's just go with this for now. 옆집. 옆집 means next door neighbor, but let's go with 이웃. 3, 2, 1, 이웃이랑. Remember? S sound, consonant sound ending. And then if it's ut like this, it ends in a th sound if there's nothing in the front, right? But as soon as we follow into a vowel, which is right now e, then we will pronounce it. Pronounce. Because when you read Korean and when you have something like this, then when you read Korean, it goes like this. You see that, then it goes there. You see that, then it goes there. You see that, then it goes there. And then you will always be looking at this. Is it a vowel? Then you pronounce. Then you pronounce this. Is it a vowel? Excuse me, vowel? Then you pronounce this. Is it a vowel? Then you pronounce this. Is it a consonant? Then this is silent. Is it a consonant? Then this is silent. Is it a consonant? Then this is silent. So when you read Korean words, you kind of have to see which one is in the front, consonant or vowel. If it's a vowel, you sound it out. If it's a consonant, it's usually the TH silent sound. Yes. TH, excuse me, TH. Let's keep going. 이웃이랑, 이웃이랑, 선배, 선배랑, 선배랑, which is the star, 선배랑, 후배랑, 후배랑, star, 선생님이랑, oh, excuse me, I forgot to count. So 선생님, 3, 2, 1, 이랑, 학생, 3, 2, 1, 이랑, 회원, 3, 2, 1, 이랑, 손님, 3, 2, 1, 이랑, 방문자, 3, 2, 1, 랑, 방문자랑, 의사, 의사, 3, 2, 1, 의사랑, star, 간호사, 3, 2, 1, 간호사랑, 경찰, 3, 2, 1, 경찰이랑, and 소방관, 3, 2, 1, 소방관이랑. So if you got all that, good job. And I put the hago here, but I mean, there's basically no vowel or consonant sound ending. It'll always be hago no matter what. Now, you can try to work on these too if you'd like. Work on this and see if you get the correct ones. I'm going to be creating a particle bot soon on Discord, and I will be letting you guys know if it's done. And it'll basically tell you if you put in a Korean word, then it'll tell you if it's the right particle or which particles are correct. So I'm going to be creating a bot like that. But yes, before I do that, you can just test yourself out and see if it's correct. And just make sure, just make sure to look at the last letter and see if it sounds in a consonant sound ending or a vowel sound ending, and you'll be fine. Let's move on. Yeah, so everybody had that feeling, right? Everybody had a feeling like, oh, this guy's too good to be true. He's too good to be true, and he probably is. He is a vampire, okay? He's probably eating some deer out in the woods because he doesn't want to suck on human beings, and now he needs to eat deer for the rest of your life, and you end up cooking deer for the rest of your life. You don't want to do that, right? At least if he has diamond skin, maybe you can, he can give you a very big diamond ring, but you don't want to do that. Now you're a vampire, okay? Now you have to live with this dude, and you have to cook deer for the rest of your life. Or maybe if you can't, fend off your hunger, then maybe you'll have to feed on humans. So if it feels weird, just like this man who you met on the first date, and it sounds weird, it's probably wrong. Okay? That's what you use with 이랑. So here's a 15-second rule test. I know this is a little too quick, but, speed is key. So this is originality and contrast. This particle we will be learning. This is purposeful. We've already learned that. And you can also not use a particle if you don't want to. We will be learning this next couple lessons, but this is basically for introduction or originality, or when you want a possessive contrast or possessive emphasis on something. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go here. We usually use 우리. Now the reason why we use 우리 is because we have there's a lot of camaraderie in the word 우리. Because when we say my mom, is it really your mom? No, it's our mom. It's all of our moms, right? We also have siblings, or we probably have a dad. Then we probably say 우리. Because it's not just your mom, right? It's all of our moms. If we say something like 우리, it's much better than saying 제. 제 sounds selfish. We never say something like 제 친구. We usually say 우리 친구가. Perhaps sometimes people say 제 친구, but we say 우리 아버지가, or 우리 어머니가, or 우리 something. 우리 something. 우리 아버지 means father, 어머니 means mother, and so on. 우리 친구 means our friend. And usually, sometimes when we say something like 우리, let's say your name is like 우리 Elizabeth, then, excuse me, let's say your name is Elizabeth, and the person says 우리 Elizabeth, our Elizabeth, then we just want to make sure that, you're all of ours, you're protected. Or it's kind of, sometimes it can be used as an endearing term. Sometimes when we say something like, oh, what does our Elizabeth want today? What does our Elizabeth want to eat today? And, sometimes I may say this to a girlfriend if, for example, if I say, 우리 something something, 우리, let's say my girlfriend's name is Elizabeth. Then I'll say something like, 우리 Elizabeth, what, 먹고 싶어? Do you want to eat? So what does our Elizabeth want to eat today? And so I'm saying that, oh, you are also my Elizabeth, and you are also our Elizabeth. And it has a lot more camaraderie feel to it, our. So we will be sticking with 우리. I just want you to know that the official way to say my is 제, but we will be sticking with 우리. So if I want to say something like this, my father is a doctor, right? Then I try to find father first. 아버지, 우리 아버지, and then I'll go to purposeful, intentional. Because when you say this, purposeful and intentional, you are also making sure that you can run your sentences into something else. If you go here and to nothing, no particle, then you are probably just ending your sentence off. You do not have potential to continue your sentence either. So if it's a small sentence, and if it is a statement that does not need to run on, go here, no particle. If you want to learn the right way, if you want to practice making longer parts of speeches, making longer sentences, you will usually go here. Okay? So 우리 아버지가, why? Because it's a vowel sound ending. 우리 아버지가, and then let's go here. Doctor, 의사, and 의사 ends in a vowel, so we will say 의사예요. 의사예요. If it ends in a consonant, it's pretty much the same. Or if it ends in a consonant, then we say the whole thing. So if it ends in a consonant, you will say the longer version. If it ends in a vowel sound, then you will say the shorter version. It's pretty much kind of the same with everything else. 이랑 is consonant sound ending. Vowel is just 랑, so the shorter version, the shorter way. So it could mean either am or is. So 아버지, 우리 아버지. So I'll just delete that here. So I'll just say 우리 아버지가 의사예요. And if we say something like this, if we wanted to say something like my father was a doctor, then we'll just have to use this one. And since doctor ends in a vowel sound ending, we'll use this. 의사였어요. 의사였어요. So let me just go over something real quick. I'll go over the first one with you. If you want to say something like 여자, it is a woman, then you say 여자예요. If it is 남자, you say 에요. If it is a 어린이, you say 어린이에요. If it is a 어른, you say 어른이에요. Why is that? Because it ends in a consonant sound ending. 가족, consonant sound ending. Yes, it is. 이에요. So 여자예요, 남자예요, 어린이에요, 어른이에요, 가족이에요, 친구예요. So in this case, you have to kind of make sure to say 에요. Okay? 남자예요. Okay? So I'm going to test you. And don't worry. It's okay if you get it wrong. Just keep testing yourself until you get it. Ready? 친구예요. 동료 3, 2, 1 에요. 유 3, 2, 1 이에요. 유시예요. 선배 3, 2, 1 에요. 후배 3, 2, 1 에요. 선생님 3, 2, 1 이에요. 학생 3, 2, 1 이에요. 회원 3, 2, 1 이에요. 손님 3, 2, 1 이에요. 방문자 3, 2, 1에요. 의사 3, 2, 1에요. 간호사 3, 2, 1에요. 경찰 3, 2, 1이에요. 경찰이에요. 소방관 3, 2, 1이에요. And then it'll be the same exact rule for all the other ones. So let's say you wanted to do the past tense of the aux, was or were. Then you could say 여자 3, 2, 1 였어요. Excuse me. 여자였어요. 남자 3, 2, 1 였어요. And 어린이 3, 2, 1 였어요. It was the child or it was a child. You don't know yet. 어른 3, 2, 1 이었어요. 가족 3, 2, 1 가족이었어요. It was my family. It was the family, or it was a family, or it was my family. We don't know from the context. There's no context yet. It could mean a whole host of things. Just know that was. 친구였어요. Excuse me, I didn't give you any time to react, so I apologize for that. 동료 3, 2, 1 였어요. 이웃 3, 2, 1 이었어요. 이웃이었. Remember, now I'm saying yos because you have to look over here. 이웃이었. And then this S carries on to 였어요. And then 후배였어요. 선생님 3, 2, 1 이었어요. And 학생이었어요. And so on. And you basically do the same thing for this. Just remember this one has two 상시its, so you must remember that. Remember, you are saying you are going here. Now you look at this. Now you look at that. Is it a vowel? Okay, you sound it out. You sound the S out. Okay, you look at this. Is it a vowel? Yes, you sound the S out. But let's say this is a G. Well, it's a G is a consonant. So you actually don't sound it out. It actually sounds like this. So 이었었. 이었었. 이었었고. There we go. 이었었고. If I say 이었었어, which is a vowel sound ending, 이었어, then this is now S. S sound ending. Yeah, so you do also have to do a lot of preemptive thinking, right? Before you move on, before you say it, you have to look at the front first and see if it's a vowel or a consonant sound ending. Otherwise, you'll sound it wrong. Okay. But what I recommend that you do is you don't, in the beginning, you'll have to look at it like that, right? You have to. But what I recommend you do for this is that you memorize how to say it. You memorize how to say 있어요, 있어요, or 이었어요. 있어요 is a different word, means to have, but you memorize how to say it. And of course, knowing the rules is also important too. But, just make sure that you memorize the rules, but I do recommend that you try to memorize it. Okay, so let's make another sentence, and you can make tons of other sentences if you want, and I'll just make 2 more sentences for you. So yes, this video is almost teetering on the edge of an hour. So if I say something like this, our, 우리 아들, and I'll say the originality, my sons, or my son apostrophe S, or my son, as for him, he is a police officer. So in this case, we may be talking about other sons. My son, in comparison to yours, on the contrary, or my son in particular, as opposed to your son or daughter or children, it could be anything, is a police officer. Okay? So basically you're doing this, picking this, then going here, and then you're ending it off with an aux verb of your choice. So I'll give you another one. If I say something like 우리 우리 부모님, or let's say 우리 부모님이 의사, this one, and then ayo, my parents, or my parents. We usually say parents as 부모님, and plural is 들, and whenever you want to add a pluralness, or excuse me, whenever you want to make a noun plural, you'll just add this to the noun. So, for example, if you say 아버지, maybe you have two fathers. Now that's a bad example. Let's say you have two sons, right? Which is 아들. I kind of picked a weird one, but you just add the 들 here, and that'll make it sons. 아들들. 우리 아들. Yes, it kind of sounds weird. And if you have more than two older sisters as a boy who is a speaker, then you would say 누나들. Yeah, and then you make it sisters. So if you want to make any noun plural, just add this, and then you're fine. I'll just write it one more time. 들. You just add it on to a noun and you're fine. Yes, make it plural. Okay, and let's do one more, just for good luck. I usually charge $5,000 for this example, but since you guys are paying students who are paying my rent at the same time, I will give it to you for free. So if I say something like 가족, 우리 가족이 우리 가족들이 경찰이에요. My families are police officers, all of them, which doesn't make sense. I mean, yeah, I just picked a weird one. But yes, that is what it means. So try to do this. It's extremely good practice for you, and you may end up learning a lot. So I want you to try to make, at least 10 sentences. If you want, you can make 22, and there's so many combinations you can have. So this is actually 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 steps. So try it out, see what you get. Now remember, when we talked about doing something with your mom or with your dad, we were saying, we were doing stuff. And now we want to say that we were doing stuff with someone, right? So I'll give you 5 and you could do the rest yourself. So I'll give you 5 for free, and then you will do perhaps 3 on the way I give you. So for example, if I want to say something like this, first of all, I'll show you the diagram. You'll first go 1 and then skip this part. This is only for once you make the first revolution. So you make a revolution and then you click 2, and then you go from 2. Okay. So first of all, you go here, here, and here. You go here, and then you go back up since he's riding a elevator. Okay, so you go back up, and now you start from 2. So boom, you go here, then you use this again, and then you go here, and then the elevator man is tired, right? He doesn't want to keep going up and down, up and down. The second way, you go here, finish off the verb. Okay, so I'm just going to delete this real quick. So remember, this is only the second time around. So you got to make 1 revolution first. Okay, so this I will go here, and then this will go here too. But just remember, this is the 1 revolution. This is the first, and then this is going to be the second revolution. So if I say something like this, my parents and I went to the hospital, but my friend went to the gym, or excuse me, my friend went to the park. Here's this. The park, to, and my parents, and with, or you can say parents and I, so 하고, because that means and pronoun, and I. So 부모님하고 something something, and then go but, we go back up, and then but my friend 친구가 over here, because we go here now, 친구가, and then we go to the park. Excuse me. Yes, my parents and I went to the hospital, but my friend went to the park. And then my friend 공원으로, we'll choose this again. 가, and then this is the second time around, so we'll go here. 가요. 가요. Yes, I actually said that wrong because we want to say the past tense, right? Yeah, the past tense right here. Okay, past tense, went. 갔어요. So this is what it means. This is how you do it. 친구하고, excuse me, we're talking with the parents first. So 부모님하고, so we don't do this one. 부모님하고 병원으로, let me just make this bigger so we know what we're talking about. Okay. 친구하고 병원, excuse me, not 친구. Why do I keep doing that? parents하고 or 부모님하고 with my parents and I 병원으로, and then 갔는데 친구가 공원으로 갔어요. Excuse me, that's not it. 갔어요. That means my parents and I went to the hospital, but my friend went to the park. What a bad friend. Okay, you should have been at the hospital. I had a coma for 5 years. You couldn't even visit me once? What kind of friend are you? Okay, and so let's do another one. If I say something like this, my father went to his work, or my father went to the company or workplace or company, 회사. So my father went to work, but my mother went to the supermarket. Okay, or let's say, and my mother went to the supermarket. How would we say this? 아버지, my father and I. Let's do my father and I. 아버지하고, right? 아버지하고 회사로 갔고, okay, 갔고, and then we go up, boop. Now we're starting here. 갔고, 어머니 here. So 어머니가, and then 마트로 갔어요. Okay. So I went to the company with my dad, but my mom went to the mart. Yes. I apologize if I'm saying this wrong because I'm trying to remember what I said and it's a long sentence. Perhaps it's long. And let's start using the 이랑 now. So let's say something like this. I went to the hospital with my boyfriend, but my mom went to work. What a bad mom. Even your boyfriend is going to the hospital with you. But let's do this. I went to the hospital with my boyfriend, so 남자친구랑 병원으로 갔는데, excuse me, that's the first one. 갔는데, here, 갔는데, 어머니가 회사로, and then we're here, 갔어요. Yes. And that's what it means. And let's do another one. If I say something like this, my friend and I, or I went home with my friend. Remember, we're yodifying as we speak, so I went home with my friend. Or let's do a present tense. I'm going home with my friend, and my mother is going to work. So I'm going home. I'm going home with my friend, and my mother is going to work. So friend with. So watch. Friend with. So friend with. Friend with. Home to. Going am. Excuse me. Going. And. Going and. Because and is a conjunction, remember? And. We go back up. My mother. My mother is. My mother. 엄마가. And then. 회사로. Company or work to. And then. Again. Going. She is. 가요. 가요. So it'll be. 친구랑. So 친구랑. Over here. 친구. I'll just delete this here. So 친구랑. 집으로 가고 어머니가 회사로 가요. Okay, and I'll do one more. And I'll just do this real quick. If I said something like my mother, I'm going to the park with my mother, but my father is going to I'm going to the park with my mother, but my father is going to work. Then I can say 어머니랑, so that's 어머니랑 공원으로 가는데 아버지가 회사로 가요. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. So this is how you read the chart. So 1, 2, 3, up. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'll do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, up. Then I'll change it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 3, it could be either be here or here. Okay. Alrighty. So actually, I'll just give you 2, and then you can try to figure it out yourself. How would you say something like this? I went to school with my mother, and my father went to work. So I went to school with my mother, and my father went to work. Okay. So pause the video and try it. Pause the video and try it, and play it once you get the answer. I'm just going to continue now, so pause it. Try it out for yourself. So I said I went to school with my mother, I went to school with my mother and my father went to work. So what would it be? 어머니랑 학교로 갔고 아버지가 회사로 갔어요. And that's pretty much it. I'll give you another one. So if I said something like, my boyfriend went to, let's say you have a horrible boyfriend. My boyfriend went to school, meanwhile, but my parents went to the hospital to check up on me. So you would say something like, I went to the hospital with my parents, but my boyfriend went home. So I went to the hospital with my parents, but my boyfriend went home. Again, I'm going to say it. I went to the hospital with my parents, but my boyfriend went home. So I want you to say that. I want you to do that. Pause the video and press play when you're done. So I went to the hospital with my parents, but my boyfriend went home. I went to the hospital with my parents, but my boyfriend went home. So it would be 부모님이랑, or I say 부모님들 or 부모님이랑 병원으로 갔는데 남자친구가 집으로 갔어요. Okay? So let me delete that once more. So it'll be something like, we're going to go here first. So 부모님이랑, and then here, 부모님이랑 병원으로 갔는데, not going, 갔는데, then I'll color code it. Then it's 남자친구, which is boyfriend. 남자친구가 집으로 갔어요. So I went to the hospital with my parents, but my boyfriend went home. So homework, if you got that, excellent job. You're well on your way there. If you can't, make sure to practice. Speed is key. Homework, okay? You should probably know how to read by now because we are going into heavy Korean territory. You know, as you can see, we're going to be reading Korean and I'm not going to be, excuse me 1 second. I am sooner or later, I'm not going to be putting in these romanizations anymore, so you cannot read these anymore. All of this is going to disappear. All of this is going to disappear. So you got to do something. So make sure to go over the, look into your portal and do lessons 1, 2, and 3, the lessons that you see for Hangul all the way in the beginning. You must do that, and then do the homework too. And then do the homework for lesson 7. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I know this was a very long lesson, but somebody's got to do it, right? Have a wonderful rest of the day. I will see you guys in class. Bye-bye.